Hello patrons, Rune Guidance of the North here. I've been working on some really cool, exciting things. I've got a lot of projects going on, including this place, which is the shop that my partner and I are opening up. He's going to be more in charge of the herbs and that type of thing. And I, of course, will be presenting healing through sound, through bone tapping, doing readings, and having crystals and all that type of fun stuff. Anyway, a lot of projects going on, and so I wanted to share with you some of the cool things from some of my people that I descend from, the Sámi. Now, to be considered Sámi in the Nordic countries, each area does have their own parliament with their own rules. So to be considered a Sámi, you really have to have that lifestyle. Being a reindeer herder, there are Sámi who are fishermen. It is about being in that community, in that culture, and living there, doing that. So that's a little different and much more intense than being of Sámi descent. So I myself have Sámi descent. That means there are teachings, a cultural worldview, and even magic that has been passed down to me in my family with that culture in mind. So I have been creating some new divination tools, and I'm really excited about them. Some of them are made with symbols that are really just mean something to me and my ancestors, but many of the symbols also are kind of standard drum fare or Sámi drum fare, what we see on the Sámi drums. So this one, for instance, means wise woman. This one is a magic serpent or a magic snake. This would be a raven. Of course, a deer. Lots of different things. This is Belegamai, which would be the wind god. There are other images of the wind god as well. Let's see, this refers to wisdom. That little thing means something like, ooh, you're getting some information from somewhere else. This, of course, is the moon. Pretty cool. Yeah, so I am loving these. I think they're so freaking cool, and I'm really excited about it. So my point in all of this for you is, don't be afraid to experiment with tools that are going to have personal meaning to you. For instance, one of the things that is in our folk tradition is that if you make your own runes, there tends to be a more powerful connection. In general, if you are making divinatory tools, or if you are commissioning someone else to do them and then consecrating them, they are going to be so much more powerful and so much more intense. And the reason is because we know as animists, our perception is about our relationship to the world around us, our relationship to crystals, to rocks, to bones, to wood, to the animals, and to the spirits. Now, in our Verdandi, we are going to this month be finishing up our 4-part series on Seder, and the last one is about the spirit component in Seder. What makes Seder or Seder? What makes it so special? We talked about all the tools, and then we're going to talk about the spirit and our relationship to the spirits. This is an animistic worldview. So while there are topics and cultural things that make people who are on a Norse path a little more unique or a little more different, or feel that culturally they identify with things more, the most important thing that really, really defines us as a spirituality is animism and our relationships to the spirits of animistic things. Animistic things, or something that's animistic, is something that maybe from a human perspective you would consider dead or not alive or not having a consciousness. And when you practice animism, you're saying, no. Everything does have an energy. Everything does have a consciousness. Everything does have a spirit. And that's how we approach the world we live in. And that's what makes us animists. So at the end of the day, and this is for some of my newer people, it's not about the gods. Norse spirituality, Norse paganism, Norse heathenry in general is not about who's your god. Do you follow Freya? Do you follow Thor? Are you Odin's guy? It's not really about that. The gods are archetypes and representatives of how relationships can go and what happens in relationships. Of course, we can have relationships with them. But the focus of Norse spirituality is the spirits, the ancestors, having relationship with everything around you. When we have a deist focused type of view, or a deity heavily focused approach to spirituality, that is a sign that you really truly are influenced by our Western culture, by the big religions, by Christianity in particular. Many of us who come into a Norse path come from a culture of Christianity or of a monotheistic faith where there's such an emphasis on a god deity, a god being. And so it's understandable. It's natural that, oh, well, now that I'm Norse pagan, or now that I'm on this path, these are the gods I worship. You see that so often in social media where people be like, the old gods, it's about the old gods. Okay. It truly, truly is about your relationship with everything, with nature, with the ancestors. And I want you to know that there is a workshop that I did last year on ancestral veneration, and I did this out of town somewhere in Alabama, actually, at Ravenwood Meadery, which is a fantastic place. If you're ever in the Huntsville area, check them out. Amazing. Anyway, one of the things that I talk about in that video, in that workshop, is this dismissal of ancestral veneration. And honestly, that is so much more of a driving force in Norse spirituality traditionally than any deity ever is. As a matter of fact, the deities oftentimes were viewed as being ancestors. That's how important the ancestral component is. And what I see in a lot of you guys, and that's totally fine, it's understandable, is this idea of, well, I don't know my ancestors, so I'm just going to kind of skip over that. It doesn't matter if you know your ancestors. They still need to be venerated. Think about this, you guys. The Toba volcano, 74,000 years ago. Google that. It's believed there was a bottleneck. It's a hypothesis, but it's believed there's a bottleneck in the development of humankind on the earth, and that pretty much everybody who's on the earth right now descends from maybe about 1,000 people who lived through that volcanic eruption that wiped out life in so many ways. The bubonic plague, I talk about this. If you have any bit of European descent at all, chances are you descend from somebody who survived the bubonic plague. It doesn't mean they necessarily had the bubonic plague and survived. There's a specific gene that called Delta 32 that people who had that specific gene were able to actually live after contracting the bubonic plague, but that you survived that epidemic, that pandemic rather. Think about those people. Think about, oh my God, somebody survived, somebody made it and continued on and didn't just throw in the towel. And I come from that person. I don't know who they are. Oh, I talk about family trees and all genealogy all the time. I have specific lines, lineage in my family tree that I can trace back super far. But most of them I can't. Most of my people, I don't know who they are. And that's okay. What if you're adopted and you don't know who your blood lineage is? Well, we do know in Nordic culture that adoption was the same as a blood connection. So your adopted family really literally became your lineage. But you also have a genetic component as well. I'm just saying, guys, don't avoid this. Don't brush it off as, well, I don't know who they are, or well, I come from a bunch of colonizers. Not everybody in your lineage is horrible, or you wouldn't be here and be the great person that you are. It's just impossible. So for every crazy or difficult person that is in our lineage, there are lovely, wonderful people in our lineage. So I want to encourage you to go through and find them. And that can be done spiritually. I'm not saying you need to go through Ancestry.com or 23andMe and find them. I'm saying you need to spend time in a spiritual way where you're connecting and acknowledging them and saying thank you. Thank you that I'm here. Thank you that I survived because of you. That's all you have to do. And little by little, that relationship will build. They're going to give you protection. They're going to comfort you, and they're going to send you on the paths that you need to go on to learn and grow and develop spiritually. So that's all I wanted to say. I hope that my babbling and blathering gave you a little bit of inspiration. And if you have any questions, of course, we do have a chat. We have our private Discord, but we also have a chat now on our Patreon. They've changed some things on Patreon, which is pretty cool. There's a section for collections where you can click on there, and everything that's in your tier or free content as well is categorized and easier to access. And we also have a chat here. So ask me any questions if you have any, and I love you guys. And in the meantime, thank you so much. Sex.